everyone. Thank you for joining in for the Louven Podcast. Today I'm excited to present Thom Draven. Thom has been in a few bands over the years, which include Recognition, Scraggly Thorn and Harry Macintosh Project, playing bass for each of these bands. How are you today, Thom?
Yeah, I'm good. Cheers, mate. You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Cool.
From the very beginning, what is one of your first musical memories?
I'd probably say I grew up in pubs when I was little. My mum and dad owned pubs.
Oh, yeah.
And in sort of like the late 80s, early 90s, there was like a massive craze for like video jukeboxes, so you could watch the video along with the song.
Yeah.
And it would probably be like that, really, watching like Guns N' Roses, and my sister was a massive Faith No More fan, so watching stuff like that from a very early. That's kind of my first memory of anything like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start playing music?
One of my friends at primary school started playing guitar, so I wanted to like learn as well. My dad actually ended up buying me a little tiny, like quarter-size electric guitar.
Yeah.
I had that for a while, but I had like no idea how to play it. And then kind of dabbled with bits and bobs. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe I started seeing live bands that I was like, that's what I want to do, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of the bands you were seeing around that time?
So I went and saw a band in a town up the road from where I live, where Reading Festival is, basically, in this big festival in England. And I saw Fun Loving Criminals play there.
All right.
And then after that, I saw Phantom Ass, one of Mike Patton's bands.
Yeah.
I think I was about 15, and then
Oh, wow.
a couple. I saw Mr. Bungle play as well in London, which was like completely mind blowing, basically.
Yeah, that would have been incredible.
Yeah, it was, from what I can remember, anyway.
Yeah. What inspired you to start playing bass?
I think it was just because that was the only thing that was left to play, really.
Yeah.
Like, my first band was with Tom Cox from Harry Mac. He joined my school in the last year of school before we finished and did our exams and stuff. And he played guitar. He'd met someone that played drums, so it was just, you're playing bass, basically.
Yeah.
So I borrowed someone for a bit, and then eventually bought my own and stuck with that, basically.
Yeah, cool. Are there any favorite bass players of yours?
Trevor Dunn, who's in Mr. Bungle, and Mass. Can't remember who else he's been in, but he was definitely up there with one. I don't know, really. He was definitely like my favorite, though, I'd say.
Yeah. Were you into bass at all before playing it, or did it sort of come after you started playing it that you appreciated it more or something?
Yeah, so I like completely learned through like teaching myself and Tom showing me how to play certain riffs and stuff. And we started a couple of covers. I think we started doing a Nirvana cover and then did a couple of other bands. I picked it up as I went along, really.
Yeah, I found when I started, because I started on guitar as well, and then when I started playing bass, I was thinking it shouldn't be that hard, like just playing the root note sort of thing. But it's I found out pretty quick it's hard to make it sound good without being boring.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you play any other instruments other than guitar and bass?
I wouldn't say that I play stuff. I've got like little studio set up here at my home, and I've got like a chord synthesizer keyboard and bits and bobs like that. But I mainly just guitar and bass.
Yeah, cool. So to start off, you were in Recognition, like you said, with Tom and a drummer that he found. What was
Yeah.
it like making that band at the start?
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, I'd wanted to be in a band for a while, and it was, we finally sorted it out. It was typical, like, school band really, but
Yeah.
like obviously we all thought that it was amazing, and we were going to get signed or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was all really exciting. Yeah, it was just really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Were you around like 15, 16 at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Are there any like standout moments from Recognition for you?
I don't know really. Like it's quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think we played like 2 gigs.
Yeah.
I guess the first proper gig we did was in a pub. That was pretty cool. Like doing we played at school and stuff, but this was actually like with adults watching and stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably the most standout thing for me.
Yeah. Do you remember how you were feeling before you played that?
I think I was pretty nervous.
Yeah.
When we did a thing at our school, I think that was like the first gig we did, and it was on like the massive school hall stage, which has like curtains and everything, and I basically stood like behind the curtain. So
yeah.
I think the gig we did at this pub was probably pretty much the same.
Yeah. From there, Scraggly Thorn came pretty quickly. It's like from the Discogs page, it says that it's around about a year that finished and Scraggly Thorn started. What were the main differences between these bands for you, if there were any?
Didn't really have to play anything in Scraggly Thorn. Like we just completely mucked about, and like it was just a noise band. It was fun, just a noise band.
What were the gigs like for Scraggly Thorn?
I think I only ever did one gig with them, I think, which was we stupidly entered a battle of the bands at the college that we went to. And, I think we played like 2 songs, and then they told us to get off the stage, basically. But
was that what was like the music scene at that time?
It was all basically still like new metal. There wasn't really, the thing is we didn't really necessarily go to a lot of gigs locally. But we had a little scene within our college group, and there were very different characters and different bands within the group, which was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So after that, Harry Mac started. It included like you, Tom, and Paul. Did it start with the 3 of you like finishing up with Scraggly Thorn and just going on to the next thing, or was it because of Jack joining as well that
well, we kind of did some other little projects at college as well. Me and Paul and Dave, who later joined Harry Mac, were in like a death metal band for the last couple of years at school. Tom was doing Mind Overtime with Paul and Gareth, I think. But I wasn't actually in the first idea of Harry Mac. There was another guy called Tom that was, I think he was going to play bass for it. They kind of like wrote bits of the first song that we ever did together, but for whatever reason, he didn't want to do it, or it didn't work out. So Tom asked me. I'd never met Jack before. But he went to college, but he was in like the year below or a couple of years below. So yeah, that was me kind of first meeting him, and yeah, we hit it off straight away with mutual music interests, because he's more into punk as well. But yeah, that was it really.
Yeah, cool. What was it like for the writing process for you being on bass?
Everything was pretty much written. Tom did kind of show me what he wanted me to do, and I did kind of steer away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like when we were recording, he'd be like, "I don't understand what you're playing, but it works."
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I'd add my kind of little twist to stuff, but it was all written already. He'd written music for it. I don't think it until like years and years later, like the last 2 EPs that we did, where we kind of jammed a bit more and came up with stuff that fit.
Yeah. So after that first EP, there was that time span where there wasn't anything going on with Harry Mac. What were you doing during that time?
I had like a couple of projects. I'd moved to a different town. I had a couple of little projects that didn't really, I think, did like the odd gig, tried writing stuff with another band, but that didn't work out. And it was around that time as well that I started, actually, me and Jack started putting on local shows and promoting them and stuff. So we were kind of busy with that, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Harry Mac was always kind of like it'd be like maybe a year or something, and Tom would be like, "Do you want to play again?" And then we'd do a couple of gigs, then stop. It was constantly like that, basically.
Yeah. What sort of brought it back together to make the second EP?
We talked about it for a while, but we kind of needed to write new stuff, basically. And there was a guy in the local scene in Newbury that passed away, and someone tried to do a memorial gig for him, but with like the bands that used to play back in the day. We were asked to play it, basically, and that kind of started things up again. And then we decided to write new music and get Dave in on guitar, and went from there, really.
Yeah, cool. Is that when you started writing parts for Harry Mac?
I wrote some lyrics on the first EP that we did when we restarted again. And then, it would have just been me adding little bits to stuff that Tom had showed me to play. But
yeah, cool. What was it like playing around that time when you started again in 2014?
It was really cool because we'd all been involved in putting on gigs and stuff. We'd like got some contacts to play different places. We didn't really play anywhere outside of like the 3 towns where we live. Years back, because we didn't know how to book a tour or anything like that, so we didn't really do much. But we started trying to branch out. We started playing London and Bristol, which was like, that's one of my favorite places to play. So it was all like very exciting again. And Jack's tour driver, so he had this a tour van, basically, so we had to use that when we needed it and stuff. So it was all really fun.
Yeah, cool. You mentioned that Bristol was one of your favorite places to play. Was that just because of like venues or gigs that had happened there, or?
I mean, I hadn't really been to many gigs there before playing there. But it's just I don't know. It's we played at a few different venues. They're all really cool. There's just people that are genuinely into the scene, basically, that seem to appreciate us playing.
Cool. Had your music taste changed at all by that point?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I've always been into all sorts of stuff. Just from like music that my parents listened to, music that my sister introduced me to at an early age, and then, you know, music that you find out through other friends. Like Tom got me into a lot of kind of grunge bands. But yeah, it had definitely branched out a little bit. I wasn't into, you know, like metal and punk so much. I'd discovered other genres.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had changed quite a lot.
Yeah, cool. What was it like touring with Harry Mac for you?
Yeah, it was cool. We did like one big tour of the UK, which was yeah, it was amazing. The best part of us playing anywhere was usually traveling there,
Yeah.
having a laugh in the van. But yeah, the tour was really cool. I'd never done anything like that. I think we did like 10 days or something, and yeah, played all over England basically.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any standout gigs for Harry Mac for you?
Um, yeah, I can't remember where it was now, but it was we played in this it was up north somewhere. We played in this random little pub, and it was absolutely packed out, and the people were just quite nuts there, and the bar actually had been in trouble for putting on gigs that were too loud.
Oh, right.
So they had this like monitor thing, which basically looked like a microphone, and when it got above a certain level of loudness, all the power cut out in the pub.
Yeah.
They basically were trying to wrap this thing in like hoodies and stuff, so that didn't happen. But it was just a crazy gig, and we basically had like free reign after, because they were like, you can stay here, but we're not going to be lock you in kind of thing. And so yeah, it was just a massive laugh basically. But yeah, the gig was really cool, like a little tiny sweaty gig.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Did the power cut on you?
I don't think it did on us, but we were on tour with like a grind band.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it cut out on them, and then we went on them, I think, and it was fine. But yeah.
Yeah. The third EP for Harry Mac, you said was when you started jamming more and coming up with a band, the music for it. Are there any songs that had been written more from you guys instead of Tom on that EP?
No, not necessarily. Like Tom always has everything planned out, which is good. Yeah, it was just, you know, adding little twists from each member. We did a song called Zoot Puma, which has got like a really long kind of atmospheric bit at the end of the song. That was always fun to play, because yeah, we just play about with stuff and see how it works, and play about with effects and things like that.
What was your like main setup for Harry Mac? Like, what sort of bass were you playing, and your amp and everything?
So I did originally play an Ibanez Art Core, which is like a semi-hollow body.
Oh, right.
That was like the early Harry Mac stuff. So I used to basically play chords on that, because we didn't have a second guitarist, so I played chords on that. But that kind of was a bit redundant after Dave joined the band, and I ended up getting it's a Fender Squire. Right. But it's one from like the early 90s, when they were still relatively well made. And yeah, that kind of changed a lot of things for me. I was very reluctant to change from my original, but when I did get that one, it sounds so much better. And then I have got a Trace Elliott cab and head. not very technical stuff. And I had like a little pedal board that I kind of put together with the distortion and like a weird synthy pedal that I had to come up with weird sounds on like the intro songs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was about it.
Yeah, cool. With the last EP, it started having a very mature sound compared to the rest of Harry Mac. Do you feel like there was a change in the band before that last EP, or did it just naturally go that way with the music?
It kind of just naturally went that way. I think we'd kind of done all the fast, hectic, random music, and there's only so far you can go doing that. So we just wanted to get up a little bit. We'd kind of had a few bands crop up which influenced us as well, and that's how the sound kind of, you know, what do you call it, evolved into what it ended up being. It was a common things that we were into at the time.
Yeah. Were there any bands that you played with that stood out to you? Any that you may even listen to now still?
There was a really cool band that we played with in London called the Display Team.
All right.
They sound quite a lot like a band that most of the members of Harry Mac are into, called Cardiacs.
Yeah.
Who I showed you. They were really cool. They were just completely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I still listen to them. I can't really think of anyone else we played with. We did a random gig with one of the members of Cardiac. Well, Tom's old band did, and me and Jack got up and did a couple of songs with them on that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mainly played with like our friends' bands, like locally. That was always the way we did it, really. So it would have been like bands from my hometown, Basingstoke, and bands from Reading and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, cool. I noticed that you actually have a tattoo of Cardiacs, like the flower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is any of your tattoos your own art?
Kind of.
Yeah.
There's stuff which I kind of just did without tattooed it on myself.
All right.
I'm trying to think. I think most of it's kind of like band artwork and stuff like that. And then just random bits that I've kind of doodled on myself and then ended up doing.
Yeah. You actually have an Instagram page of a lot of your own art that you've done. Have you always been into art, or was that something that you just got into later on?
No, I've always been into art. It's actually what I wanted to do when I left school, was do some art courses at college. But I ended up going to Reading College with Tom, and that's where we met the other people. But I was always into art. I've kind of had a bit of a rebirth of getting into it again recently, because I've brought an iPad and I've learned how to do digital art and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
But it's always been a thing. I did actually want to be a tattoo artist at one point, but I've got some health issues and I've got arthritis in my joints, so that wasn't really possible long term. Just concentrating on sort of digital stuff these days.
Yeah, cool. What are some of your favorite artists, if you have any?
There's a guy that we used some of his work for some Harry Macintosh artwork called Beeple.
Oh yeah.
His work's pretty cool. He's just actually blown up. He's very popular these days.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I can't actually think of anyone else though. Yeah, and actually, I had to think of another one. There's a guy called Alex CF, the singer in one of my favorite bands called Fall of Ephrathah. And he's like he writes novels and things like that as well, and does accompanying artwork with it, and did all the artwork for his band and his bands, other bands. He's another artist that I really dig.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I think I remember seeing a few things of people. I remember like a Donald Trump one that he did or something like that. And he's in like some massive like container or something.
That's quite obscure anyway, but it's gotten even more obscure these days, and there's kind of like political undertones to some of it as well. Like he does a lot of stuff with Trump and like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and stuff like that.
Yeah. With your artwork, what inspires most of it for you?
I've always been into quite trippy stuff. Try and have elements of that in it. I don't really know what inspires me. I jump around. I don't do like a fixed thing. I jump around quite a lot. But yeah, I'm inspired by everything and anything really.
Yeah, cool. With the like whole trippy sort of thing you were talking about, what do you think makes a good art piece?
I don't know really. Yeah, I don't know. Something that's got lots of elements to it that you might not necessarily like notice straight away.
Yeah.
Okay. Stuff like that.
Yeah, cool. You were saying that like you've gotten into digital art and stuff like that. What other things are you doing now besides your art?
So when I got set up to have a little studio at home, so I do write some bits of music at home. The art stuff. I do like pyrography, wood burning art as well. Other stuff that I'm well into, I collect records. I've got quite records. I'm a massive Star Wars geek as well. I collect Star Wars stuff too. That's about it really.
Yeah, cool. What are some of your favorite records that you have?
Some of my favorite ones that I'm trying to collect is really into a band called Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats.
Oh wow.
So I've been trying to collect some of their records, which I thought would be quite fun, but it's actually they've got so many different variations of different kinds of artworks. It's a bit ridiculous. It's going to end up costing quite a lot of money to collect most of it. I love all like the limited edition numbered stuff. Anything like that.
Yeah, cool. Do you remember what your first record was?
I'm not sure. Probably a Misfits record, maybe. I kind of started playing vinyl before I even had a vinyl player.
Oh, right.
It took me quite a few years to actually get one. But yeah, I think some of the first stuff I bought was probably Misfits.
Yeah, cool. So with the ending of these interviews, I like to say the same question to everyone. If you were to show 3 albums to someone that had never listened to music before, what would those 3 albums be?
3. I would probably say There's one of my favorite bands called Anyone.
Right.
They were in the late 90s, early 2000s. They had a self-titled album which came out in 2000, I think. So I'd probably say that.
Yeah.
They're just quite a different band. Very unique, psychedelic-y band that I'd have to recommend. I'd probably say Scott Walker. He's had an album, top 4, my favorite albums. And Mr. Bungle, Disco Volante, as well, has been a favorite album for a long time.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, thank you for being a part of the interview.
That's right. Cheers for having me.
Yeah, no problem. All of the links to Tom's music will be in the description, and also his art if you're keen to check it out. And yeah, hope to see you next time.
Cool.
See you, mate.
Cheers. Nice one. Thank you.